There are a lot of heists that you can do in GTA Online, but some of them are just not worth it at all. So today in this video, I am going to show you the top 5 worst heists in GTA Online. So coming in at the number 5 spot, this heist would probably be number 1 on a lot of people's list, but for me, I'm leaving it at number 5. And that is going to be the Fleeca job. Now, I'm going to explain myself really quickly on how we're going to rank like these heists in this video. What I'm taking into effect, so there's really 4 categories that I'm going to be looking at each heist under. So the first one's going to be money. How much money we would be making from this heist, and the Fleeca job out of every single heist would be by far the worst. But then I'm also going to take into consideration how much time each heist is going to take, how fun is each heist, and then how many people do you need to start up this heist. So let's go over how much money you'd be getting with the Fleeca heist. And by the way, with all these heists, we're going to be doing it on hard difficulty because hard difficulty gives the most money. So on hard difficulty for the Fleeca job, you're going to be making $250,000. But the next thing we're going to talk about is how many people do you need for the Fleeca job? And you only need 2 people. That's pretty nice. So you'd split $250,000 between 2 people. So I guess if you want to do it a perfect 50-50, $125,000 per person. And then the time. How long does a Fleeca job really take? Now, I don't have like a concrete answer because I don't do it but so much. I try to avoid it. But I don't know. I think anywhere between 20 and 30 minutes if it's not your first time. If it's your first time, maybe like 30 to 40 minutes. But when we're talking about that amount of time, that is not a lot of time at all. It's by far and away the quickest heist you can play in GTA Online. So you can quickly do this and you can just move forward with whatever else you want to do. And then how fun is this heist? Well, in my opinion, the Fleeca job isn't really fun, but I don't know. It's not necessarily supposed to be this big spectacular thing. It's kind of more of an introduction to heist. So I kind of get the reason why it's not, you know, the craziest thing to do. There's not like a whole lot of challenges, in my opinion. I don't know. Let's just say like the prison break heist. Like that's a challenge in itself, trying to break out a guy out of prison. Or like the doomsday scenario, you're trying to save the world from Avon Hertz. You have to take out his goons and whatnot. See, I mean, like all those are very, very challenging. There's I mean, yeah, we have to rob like this small bank and then make an escape, but I don't know. It's not the most challenging thing in the world. But anyways, I feel like this should come in at the number 5 spot just because with these categories, I just feel like some of the other categories other than money are going to outweigh just how little this heist makes. This heist is just a very, very quick heist, the quickest heist in the game, which in turn makes it the cheapest heist in the game. But anyways, let's move on to our 4th heist on this list, the 4th worst heist in GTA Online. And this one's going to be very, very different compared to number 5. So the 4th worst heist, in my opinion, in GTA Online is going to be the Diamond Casino heist, but it's the aggressive approach. So let's go over everything. So the money with this heist. Now, it's not a very concrete answer with how much money you'd be making, but I'd say the total loot between all your crew members, I think you can get anywhere between, I don't know, we'll say between $800,000 and $2 million, but that can vary too because of how many people you can have in this heist. You need at least 2 players, but you can have between 2 and 4 players. So there's a little bit of a caveat there. So essentially, if you have more players, you can grab more loot, but then you're gonna have to split up the loot between more players. But also with the money aspect, it really just all depends on the primary target. So if you get cash, that is gonna be the worst thing to steal. If you get artwork, that's the next worst. If you get gold, that is the best thing that's in every single week. Or you can get diamonds, which that only comes in every once in a while. So yeah, money and people can all vary, but it's a huge step up compared to the Fleeca heist. Now, the aggressive approach for the Diamond Casino heist, I would say this would take, I'd say anywhere between an hour and 30 minutes to 2 hours. And this is from starting it up, setting it up, and doing the finale. So for one of the setups, you have to get vault explosives. In order to get these vault explosives, they are underwater. So you have to get scuba gear and you have to retrieve not 1, but 2 explosives from an underwater wreckage while also avoiding Merryweather agents, which is very, very annoying. And especially if you're doing this solo, if you're setting it up solo, which most players do, or there's a huge chunk of players that like to get these vault explosives solo, it is incredibly annoying because you have to dive and survive and hope hope no one attacks you and all that. And then you make it back out. Then you have to go back to your arcade. Then you have to go back and get another one. It's incredibly annoying. There's a lot of setups that are like that, but this one is really, really annoying. So that's definitely a factor within this heist. But anyways, is the aggressive approach fun? I think it can be fun. In my opinion, I think it can be fun. If you do it the meta way, you can avoid like a ton of guards. It doesn't make sense to do it any other way if you want to be as efficient as possible. So I think the fun is kind of more just meh, nothing too crazy. But a huge reason why it's on this list compared to a lot of these other heists that I'm about to explain is that the other two different casino heists, the silent and sneaky and the big con approach, those other two approaches are much better. So the thing with the aggressive approach is that you're running into the casino, you're already guns ablazing, all the guards know that you're there, so the alarm is pulled, and when the alarm is pulled, you have less time in the vault, and when you have less time in the vault, you have less time to grab your primary target, leading to having less money. But with the big con approach and the silent and sneaky approach, if you do it the correct way, if you make it to the vault undetected, then you'll get like an extra minute in the vault, despite whatever hackery that you have. It's coming at the number 4 spot just because you can make a way more money in comparison to a lot of these other heists that are going to be on this list. But yeah, if you thought number 4 was very controversial, I think 3 could be even more controversial. And number 3 is going to be the Bogdan problem. I'm just not a fan of the Bogdan problem, but I'll explain why. So the money that you get from this. So if you do this on hard mode, you make $1,781,000. So that leads us to our next question. How many people can we do the Bogdan problem with? And with the Bogdan problem, you'll need at least 2 players, but you can play with up to 4 players. But that payout stays consistent. So it doesn't make a lot of sense if you play with 4 players from a money standpoint because you'd be making less money. So then the time, how long would it take us to do the Bogdan problem? I would say this is another one, maybe 2 hours and 30 minutes, like somewhere in that range, an hour and 30 minutes to 2 hours and 30 minutes. Just depends on who helps you during this heist and the setups. How long do you take during the prep work missions? But anyways, is this heist fun? The finale, in my opinion, I don't know, it's not the most fun finale in the world. I actually think it's the easiest finale within the 3 acts of the Doomsday heist. This is act number 2. You would think act number 1 would be like the easiest one, but I don't know. I just think this one's so much easier, the finale. And then the setups, I think the setups are simple, but they do have their own challenges. So yeah, but my biggest reason that the Bogdan problem is coming in at the number 3 spot is just because of how many glitches are with this heist. Now, I know a lot of people are probably thinking like, oh, the Bogdan problem is probably the best thing in the world because you can just glitch the Bogdan problem. You just replay it over and over. Well, that's one reason. I think that's so stupid in my opinion. But anyways, there's actual glitches that make it annoying to play. And I'll just go through all the setups. I'll literally just go through all the setups. So the Avengers setup, the first setup, that one has no glitches. Hooray. But the next setup, Rescue ULP, there is a glitch there. And by the way, the glitches that I'm talking about now, these are the glitches I have run into. So if there's more, then that is ridiculous. But anyways, the next setup, Rescue ULP. I've recently done the Bogdan problem on my Loser to Luxury series, and we have run into a pretty significant glitch. And that is when you make it to ULP, sometimes it just doesn't move. And that's the whole point of the setup. You're supposed to make it to ULP, and then he's supposed to follow you on the way out. You start, and when I did it, I was starting to make my way out, you know, trying to clear him a path, which is what I'm supposed to do. He just doesn't walk. So it just ruins the purpose of the entire setup, and obviously you cannot complete the setup if you cannot get him to follow you. Anyways, the third setup, salvage hard drives. There's no glitches that I know of with that. The fourth setup, submarine recon. There is a glitch with that. So after you get the Strombergs and you blow up the sea mines, you scan the submarine, you've made it back to the location in Paleto Bay, the final drop off, the final location. Once you make it to that location, both players make it to that location, the mission should be passed. Well, sometimes if you make it to the location, just nothing happened. And you're just sitting there like, what the heck is going on? Like, there's no text on your screen at that point. You're just sitting here like, what what the hell are we doing? So at that point, you're just like, oh, great. After like 5 minutes sitting there, it's like, okay, nothing's really happening. You just have to blow yourself up. You got to do that part all over again. Why? We've made it to the location. And then the finale. There's a glitch with that I've been running into recently. So the glitch I've been running into during the finale is, saying I'm the person in the submarine. After the submarine blows up and we're trying to regroup with the person in the Avenger, the location on the mini map is saying I'm over near the military base, but I'm still just off the coast of Paleto Bay. It's a very significant distance. So that leaves my Avenger pilot very, very confused. Like, where the hell is this guy? And usually I'm not communicating with the guy. So then I have to like message him and be like, yo, I just go to land. I'll drive to you. Like, it's just one of those things like, why? Why is this a thing? So with all that being said, there's just so much wrong with this heist that they could easily fix, but I don't know, some of these problems have been a problem for a long, long time. So I don't think they're going to be fixed considering GTA 6 is around the corner. So it just makes it annoying to play. So that's why the Bogdan problem is coming on this list. Even though it makes a lot of money, it probably makes the most money out of any heist on this list. It's just annoying. With all those glitches, it just makes it annoying. But anyways, let's move on to the number 2 worst heist in GTA Online. So the second worst heist in GTA Online is going to be the Humane Labs raid. So let's go over how much money we'd make with this heist. So on hard mode, you'd be making, or your entire crew would be making $1,181,000. But you're going to need 4 players. You need 4 players for this heist. So getting 4 players to join, that is incredibly annoying. So yeah, you'd have to sit there for a long time, assuming, and then finally one person joins, and then maybe you'd get another person, and then no one joins for a little bit, then someone gets annoyed at that point, then they leave, and then you're just sitting there still like, all right, someone else gonna join, then someone else joins, but then they leave, and then the first person that joined leaves, and then it's back to being just yourself, and then at that point it's like 5 hours into the day. Anyways, how long does the Humane Labs raid take? I would say this would take anywhere between an hour and 2 hours. This is all depending on your crew. How good is your crew members? And then, is this heist any fun? This is heist any fun? Honestly, this might be the most fun heist on this list, in my opinion. I think that's kind of the only saving grace with this heist. But I think the finale is just kind of meh. I'm not very fond of the finale, but the setups are kind of interesting. There's not really much to say about this heist. It's just one of the original heists, but it's not one of the original heists that's very iconic, in my opinion. It makes more money than the Prison Break, for example, but the Prison Break, I just think is so fun. I enjoy the Prison Break a lot. And then the Pacific Standard heist, that's another one I think is incredibly fun, but also it makes even more money than this too. So yeah, in my opinion, I'd much rather play those. Then obviously I'd rather play any other Doomsday heist, even if it has to be the Bogdan problem, just barely though. And then I'd rather play any casino heist, even if it's the aggressive approach. I'd rather play the Coyote Perico heist. So yeah, pretty much every other heist I'd much rather play than the Humane Labs raid. But what is going to be the worst heist, in my opinion, in GTA Online? So in my opinion, the worst heist in GTA Online is going to be the Series A funding heist. Now, I feel like the Series A funding heist, like the story of this heist and like the people, or I mean the characters with this heist, I feel like had so much potential, but I think they just made it incredibly boring. But anyways, let's go over how much money does this heist make. So in total, for your entire team, you'd be making $883,000 on hard mode. But this is another heist too that you're going to need players. So you'd have to split $883,000 between 4 players. However percentage you want to make that out to be, it's just not great. It's just not great, whichever way you want to split that up. There's so many other better heists than that. Anyways, how long would this heist take? I don't know. I think this is a little longer than the Humane Labs raid, but not too much longer. I'd say an hour and 15 minutes to 2 hours and 15 minutes. I feel like just some of the setups are so far away from the city. I think that just builds on more time. But then, is it fun? I really just do not enjoy any of these missions. I just think a lot of these missions within this heist are just a complete snooze fest. So yeah, anyways, with this heist, this is pretty much the main thing in GTA Online that Trevor Phillips is a part of. If you don't know, Trevor Phillips is from Story Mode. He is one of the 3 main characters from Story Mode, and he makes an appearance in GTA Online with the Series A funding heist. And he's pretty much much who we're doing this heist for. And the cutscene right at the end of this heist is one of the more iconic cutscenes in GTA Online. But aside from Trevor being there, and aside from that one cutscene, it's just a pretty freaking boring heist. But anyways, that was my top 5 worst heists to play in GTA Online. Now, despite me saying all of this, I feel like you should play every single heist at least once. And then when you play each and every single heist once, then you can formulate your own opinion. But anyways, it's gonna do it for this video. Make sure you check out my merch store, drcrushyt.com, so you can get your latest Dr. Crush merch. Make sure you check out this video right here if you want to see me start out as a level 1 in GTA Online.